minds and free them to the life they saved. Real talk, real vets, every tale's got pride. From the battlefield's edge to the home front side. Tune in, turn it up, hear the heroes speak. The Vet Files bring the truth every week. From the fight to the mic, it's a soldier's life. You're live with the Vet Files, real stories, real life. With the Vet Files, with the real stories, real life. With the Vet Files.
Welcome to the Vet Files. My name's Matt Cochran, and I'm glad you guys could join us again for another exciting episode of where we tell our stories of what happened to us during our military escapades, if you want to say. And again, with us is Ken Freeney. Thank you for joining us again, Ken. How you doing today?
Oh, not bad at all.
Awesome. Well, today, I know last episode we talked and kind of went through your background and kind of big overview and stuff of your experience and what happened. Today, we're going to kind of talk about, kind of switch things around. I know the big catchphrase in the military, we're going to make it a little funnier today, but smoking and joking, that's where we're going today, right? And I know,
rock and roll, drill sergeant.
Yeah, I know by the look on your face, you've got some good stories to tell us. So, you know, a lot of people don't realize, you know, that especially have never served, but in the military, there is a lot of downtime that happens. And in that downtime, not only during training or whatever, but during that downtime, a lot of boredom kicks in. And when boredom kicks in, shit happens. And it's funny as heck. So I know you've got a bunch of stories that we need to cover. So let's go back to basic training and talk about, you were telling me about, you had a good story relating to a female drill sergeant.
Yeah, it's, before we start though, I want to remind everybody when we talk about the military, one of the longest standing organizations that repetitively repeats itself. So you came out after I did in the service. We have almost the exact same stories, but at a different generation level, a different time frame. I mean, it doesn't change a lot. The people change. So it's easy to laugh at these things because we understand it. And everybody knows about being politically correct and the new diversity and equity. This didn't exist when we came in. And I remember getting one of the first briefings as a drill sergeant. We had the Navy tailhook incident, a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Oh, and yeah, the Navy tailhook. I remember that. Yeah.
They had at the co-ed bases, a couple of drill sergeants had slept with maybe some females or whatever. And of course, we get the black eye for cussing and a lot of stuff we say, and a lot of drill sergeants didn't. Might have been a lot of stress induced, but there wasn't always the inflammatory words as bad as they make it out in the movies. Right. Sometimes it was. So LT comes in and wants to talk to me, the first sergeant, a couple of others, and says, "Hey, y'all missed the briefing this morning. Hey, we're pushing troops. We ain't got time to be at some briefing at 06. You know, we've been out there for 3 hours already." And he said, "Well, it's all about watching your language and what we say in front of the privates and things like that." And the first sergeant's like, "What the F you talking about?" "If that's what I'm talking about, first sergeant, you know, we got to watch the F-bombs and a few things like that." And he said, we have female drill sergeants here and, you know, they could be a little offended. And we're like, offended? And literally nobody understands this mentality coming at us back then. So he's in the process of telling this, and this private comes running down the hallway, and I'm like, "Hey, slow the F down." He locks it up and comes into a skid, bumps into the first sergeant. And as he's saying, "Watch what you say," this female drill sergeant, which they were wearing the little Aussie style fold up, she come flying out. "Hey, you MF, come here." She locks him up in the hallway, commences to yelling at him. "What's your problem? We don't run in hallways. Was you born in a barn?" She's going through the whole spiel with him. And she goes, "Let me hear your war cry." And I swear he sounded like a kitten. "Let me hear your war cry." She's like, "Let me hear your effing war cry, you little," like, and I mean, I'm cutting the words out, but she's letting them fly. And he screams a little bit, and she goes, "This is a war cry." And when she yells, it's as strong as any man. Now you got to remember, this is a little 5'9" petite woman, and she's ripping. So all of a sudden she goes, I bet if I grabbed one ball in his hand and one ball in his hand and slammed it together, you would scream. First sergeant turned to LT.
Yeah.
He said, what was you saying about offensive language and what we need to do? And LT just threw his clipboard and walked off. And
I remember, man, during basic, the male drill sergeant, you knew what to expect from them. But the female drill sergeants, man, they could be more vicious than the male drill sergeant. You never knew what was going to come out of their mouths. And you were more afraid of them, man. And it was crazy. So I can imagine what you're saying.
And these women are going home and cooking dinner for their kids and everything. And their kids have no clue what their mama's like on post. You know? No. And, you know, it's funny you say the F word, as we all know what the F word is my poor mother-in-law. She is the most wonderful woman in the world, but she's also the most innocent. So she holds military guys in the utmost respect whenever she knows that you, and she even married, her husband is a retired military. And it wasn't until it's been about 10 years back or whatever, we were having a discussion and her husband was there and she was there, they was visiting, and somehow it got brought up and I said something about, hey, in the military, if you don't use the F word, you can't communicate because it's ingrained in every communication that you have. Hey, F her, or hey, F this, whatever. And she was like, what? She was like amazed. And she just looked at her husband and he didn't say anything. He just said, gives you the nod of approval. Yep.
Yeah. So, basic training back in the day, I've heard everybody has stress cards now, and like you raise the card and, hey, I'm stressed out. I never knew if that was myth or true or what it was, but I'm going to tell you a funny story that happened. I first went into basic at 91, and back then they were still kind of rotating through all the guys, the older guys came through Vietnam or what have you, the back end of Vietnam, rough school, old school. Well, something happened to my knee. I can't remember what it was, but I needed to go to sick call. And so everybody got the sick call. There was like 4 or 5 of us. They put us down there. Everybody went out to do their training. Well, this little drill sergeant, like you said, he was a male. And he was just crazy. I don't know. He had us lined up. There's like 6 or so. And the first thing out of his mouth, we were standing there at ease. And he said, I hate all of you sick call MFers. What we ought to do is go upstairs, rip the toilets out, put your head in the hole, and let everybody crap in your mouth. And I was like, what? And then there was this goofy kid that was pretty tall, and he was really goofy. He said, son, what you ought to do is just take some ketchup and roll it, throw it on the floor, roll around, and call yourself a French fry. So, anyway, yeah, so those stories are, I don't even know.
Diverse.
Huh?
They're wide and diverse.
Oh, it is. It is. But like you said, though, I think even though that folks go through basic training now, and I know it's different for every generation, but you still have those funny stories of this drill sergeant that did this, or this crazy battle buddy that did whatever.
Oh, it's like in combat. You got downtime everywhere you go in the military. It's hurry up, wait, hurry up, wait. I mean, you got the guy that puts on his gas mask, falls asleep during an exercise, and he wakes up with his head duct taped to a post.
So speaking of falling asleep, let's watch what happens. You do not want to fall asleep if you can help it and everybody's up, but it happens. So here, let's watch this.
Attention on deck.
Yeah, so
I know we ain't sleeping, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Especially the guy with attention on deck.
Yeah.
Number of
Oh.
times people have flipped over in chairs.
Oh, yeah. Please.
We used to set off, used to take the MRE packets, the heater packets, put them in water bottles and make the little bombs and
Oh,
set the
yeah.
water.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. It's like, man, you do not. Let's see what else we got going here.
The funny part about all this is those guys will be watching TV tonight or going to dinner, eating chow. Some of them might be pissed off for a couple of days, but they'll get over it.
Oh, so some other things that you were telling me about is there were some honor guard burials, and some things happened there. So, tell us about that?
Yeah. Whenever, especially if you've been overseas and back, combat, dealing with everything after you've been in for a while, things have a humor to them. Mm-hmm. Some people don't get it. You go to a funeral, you don't expect anything to be funny. We were doing a burial for a retired World War II vet in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And we had worked everything out. We're going to line up offset, parallel to the funeral. The funeral director is going to say a few words. They're going to have the preacher say a few words. Then they're going to give us the cue. Well, I'm watching and I can barely see the man. And he gives me a little wave and I'm like, okay. So I give the commands. We fired that first volley. That whole front row jumped up and screamed, hallelujah. Some lady fainted and fell down. This is where your military burying is, you fire your volleys, you get done, you march out of there, you get to the van and you lose it. Because no matter how many times you do it, you start to get that warped sense of humor. Okay.
Right.
But my friends were burying this colonel. So, apparently in the rush to bury, and I've never vetted this story as far as how it happened, but according to a mortician, that when you put too much formaldehyde or you put it in too quick or however it works, the body will actually move if it hasn't settled. In the middle of their ceremony, his head came up just enough to break the plane of the casket. His wife passed out. The honor guard, she passed out. So people started screaming in the middle of it. And
oh my God.
It got to the point, most of the guys were, honor guard was a lot of volunteer work. Hey, we need guys didn't want to go. One poor girl fell in the hole. Yeah. We were lowering the casket and it got too fast and she got wrapped up in the strap and it dropped, yanked her ass over in the hole.
Oh,
and
that's
as much as you don't want to laugh.
Right.
But these things happen. They're real things that happen at funerals, but it's more amplified because you're in uniform. Everybody's focusing on you. People slip down in the mud and as they're carrying the casket. Whose bright idea was it to bury this fucker on the side of a hill in a freaking mudslides, And you're dressed, your class A's are covered in mud.
Man, I tell you, it's so hard. It's like they're so, you have to be so serious, but some stuff happens, and this keeping that military bearing, like you said, it's so hard. But that's where the discipline comes in. That you can't. And then after you do all your pomp and circumstance, all that stuff, then you can go back and laugh about it and talk about that was some crazy shit that just happened over here.
And it's so funny and sad at the same time, because if you've ever been around a 21 gun salute and taps being played in the same thing, to be able to sit there and laugh, you've got to find some humor in it. And like I said, when we buried that guy and we fired that volley, that woman was 300 pounds at least. She knocked 2 chairs over when she come up and screamed. I mean, Bible, everything went up in the air.
Wow.
And, some people like, that's cold. Well, what do it's happened. It has happened. So now you got to run. You got to keep going.
Right. All right. That's a good stopping point. Right now, we're going to take a break. I want to tell you about this guy. His name is Timothy Swift. He is a singer-songwriter, and he has done some awesome songs about veterans. Apparently, his father told him stories about being a veteran, and he's turned those into songs. And we'll take a chance here to listen to it. But follow him. I'll have the link to his YouTube page in the comments below. But if you're a vet, I think that I've listened to it over and over again. He's really good. I think that you really appreciate it. It really hits home with everybody. So we'll be right back.
Home of the free. When I was young, just a boy in school, our teacher taught us all the golden rule. We would recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Yeah. Thankful for our country's strength and fortitude, resilience for the future, conviction in our views as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to that flag. Yeah. I'll always remember what my daddy told me. He told me America's built on a dream. It's built on the blood, sweat, and sorrow we keep. It's the land of the brave and the home of the free. Now is the time to understand all men are equal, not just the richer man. We must stop this hate and stop the misery. We have the freedom to express our views, voting for whoever we choose, as our soldiers have died for us to be free. I'll always remember what my daddy told me. He told me America's built on a dream. It's built on the blood, sweat, and sorrow we keep. It's the land
Back to the
of
Vet
the
Files. We're going to continue smoking and joking. So, Ken, tell me about this gorilla and the luggage. What's up with that? Was this a commercial?
We're hitting boot camp pretty hard today.
Yeah.
They once again, old school versus new school. So everybody has to remember things are a little different. We used to didn't have field week.
Mhm.
A lot of times you pick troops up day one and you carried them for whatever branch you were in from 8, 9 to 13, 16 weeks. So we got the group that came in and they drew an initial duffel bag, plus still had their civvies on. So it was kind of in between all this transition of having the field week and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Bus pulls up. I had already kind of developed my intro because when
Are
you
you a
feed 'em to
drill?
the
Are you a drill sergeant at this point?
I'm a drill sergeant.
Okay. I missed that.
Yep, sorry about that. And I was I always like to kind of do offsets, and have an imagination. So I got on the bus and I opened up with my speech. I'm Drill Sergeant Reed, blah, 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 blah. And we're here to make your stay a pleasant one. We want to welcome you. And we go through the whole spiel there.
Carolina Stewards.
If you have any problems at all, you just find somebody with one of these big brown Smokey Bear hats on, and they'll be more than happy to help you. Now, what I need all you folks to do this morning is I need you to exit this bus single file.
Mhm.
Unload from the front, then unload from the back. We'd appreciate it if you will assist us, grab your luggage and your bags and funnel your way out. Now, the guys are in the platoon. I'm the shortest at 6 foot at the time.
Wow.
They're all like 6'3", 6'4" drill sergeants.
Yeah.
We done got 10 of them out. This kid's taking what I said at heart. He's got his Samsonite baggage. He's got his duffel bag. He walks to the biggest drill sergeant we got. He looks at him and says, "Private, can I help you today?" "Well, yes, if you don't mind, could you carry these bags for me and carry them to wherever I'm sleeping at?" Just as nonchalant, like he's at a hotel. P doesn't miss it. He says, be more than happy to, sir. Why don't you just follow the group right on in that way? And I'll take these. And he picks this thing up, turns around, throws a duffel bag. And I mean, it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger chunking a midget. He heaves it, throws the luggage, commences to jumping up and down on it. Now, you can't appreciate this unless you've seen the Samsonite commercial, which they used to use the gorilla.
The show
It is big.
that luggage was, yeah.
And he is beating the crap out of this luggage, jumping up and down on it. And the private's looking at him, and then that's when Shark Fest happens. I think that's what they call it now.
Shark Attack.
Yeah, we didn't call it that then.
They've outlawed those now. Banned those.
They come out of the woodwork. What's wrong with you? You joined the United States military. I ain't carrying your effing baggage. Pick your baggage up. Move it, move it, move it. And I'm sitting back and, welcome. Hope you have a pleasant stay. First sergeant says, you really enjoy this, don't you? I said, well, it's part of what we went through.
I remember when we would get on the bus or pull up, that you went to reception battalion for a few weeks or whatever, and then in process. But then whenever it's time to go, you had no idea. They made you put your head down, close your eyes, and then the bus would drive around like 3 or 4 laps. So you would get totally confused where you're at. And then even though you were just like maybe 2 blocks away from where you was just at, and then you had to throw all of your A bags or that in the middle of a big pile and go find them, find your A bag, hold them over your head. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's some crazy stuff that goes on.
And see, you're reminding me of stuff, it's too many times we think about the bad stuff, I guess. Right. And, we forget about some of the good times and the people, but when you do the reception and everything, taking away anything that an alcoholic can drink, mouthwash, VO5, because it has had beer in it. People's like, what? Oh, they drink the shampoo if they thought it had beer in it. It was, you take away everything,
Oh yeah, definitely. And then they used to put, I don't know, everybody says, oh, this is a myth, but they used to put saltpeter in the water. I swear to God, yeah, so you wouldn't get an erection.
Well, that's what they used to say, but I tell you, man,
I was 18
walk through the barracks at night. These guys got to get a date.
They were at full staff.
Pup tents out the union.
Get out there.
I remember our CO blew his top one day over a field trip we had. We went out and did a little bivouac and was moving, just rut marching and carrying on. Well, we had a aggression exercise that night, and I called an aggression exercise because after 10 or 11 weeks of being bottled up,
right,
these privates cut loose on each other.
Yeah.
They went full blown to war. One of the drill sergeants fired a flare, and it ricocheted. He tripped, and it ricocheted off the Kevlar. Another private. Up it went. Yeah. That's why you wear the protective stuff.
So speaking of that, I got a little video clip. I can show you how whenever you're bottled up like that, what happens here. Let's watch this.
Whoa!
So that's complete boredom in the military, man.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stupid stuff that gets you.
So, and I see this now, and then I'm thinking from old school, where'd they get all this damn free time? But then you look at the AIT, AIT's a lot different because it's a little bit more relaxed and things like that. We had a private bite another private on the nose during FTX.
What?
Yeah, they got, like I said, drill sergeant tripped, fired a flare, hit one of them in the Kevlar, it ricocheted. It was off the hook that night. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. No major injuries, but it was a full-blown war. These privates were slugging it out, and the CO got pissed. And we're like, whoa. You put them out here at 1 a.m., you give them a bunch of blanks and fireworks, you turn them loose, you have 200 and something privates out here in a large FTX, and you got one bite another one's nose. He turned around and said, what's wrong with you, Captain? They've been bottled up for 13 weeks. Ain't got laid, ain't been eating what they want to eat, ain't had no ice cream. They gonna cut loose. Let them cut loose.
They're going to get rid of that energy some way, right?
He said they'll be fine in the morning.
So, what was the story you were telling me about boxing match? Run, run, run. What happened there?
They suckered me, or I say suckered. I got into martial arts and some boxing and other stuff, and a lot of it was off base and everything. But they had just what they called a smoker, and you go box, and you go through. It could go on for hours, short 2 to 3 round matches. And we had a guy from another unit on post, which he was good. His boxing gloves cost more than my car. He should have been pro, but he always stayed on the amateur ticket because he loved the military and, was close to retirement. And so I was doing pretty good that night, got through some of it, get to this one point. I draw this SOB for my deal. So I'm getting in the ring. I see him coming. I'm like, oh, no, I am not about to get my ass beat by him. And they're like, no, you get in the ring. You get in there. So for the first half of the round, I'm just dip, dodge, duck, dive, dodge, like the movie says. I'm trying to stay out of his way. They ring the bell, go back out. They're like, you got to mix it up, dude. This looks sad. I said, dude, he's like, every punch I throw is 35 hitting me back. I'm not nowhere on his level. I mean, I realize what my limitations are. So the next round I went in there, me and him started mixing it up a little bit. I got a couple of good shots and he got pissed. Then he starts coming at me because that's what you do in boxing.
Right.
And all I hear out of the stands is my fan club, the 2 of them going, run, motherfucker, run. That's what you've been doing for the whole first. They said you did it for the whole first round. He never touched you. Just run.
Save yourself.
I think when it was over with, I may have landed like, if he landed 300 punches, I probably landed 50% of that. He was just he had the reach, the speed, and everything else. And so that was where the run come from.
Run, Forrest, run.
Pretty much, and it's, and everybody's, oh, you're getting there. I'm a man. Like, if you can't tell on yourself somewhat,
right,
you'll go nuts. He was good. I got to give him his credit. I could have bit his kneecaps off or something. That's about it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing about it is like, dude, you know when you're whipped, right? You just got to admit it. You just got to go on and say, dude, whip my ass. My wife is so amazed at how guys can just fight and just beat the hell out of each other, be mad. And then right after it, they just hug each other and whatever, man, you kicked my ass. So, and go drink a beer.
I got in an argument with a superior one time. We'll call him that, and NCO, and we'd known each other for a while. I totally disagreed, and we took it out back. And I mean, we were at it. I had a huge disagreement about the operation we were doing and some other stuff, and we just did not jive on it. So when we went back in, I was pissed. He was pissed. Door slam. I'm in my office. The first sergeant comes down there and said, "You two gonna be all right, or do y'all need to go back out there and mix it up?" I'm like, I'm fine. A little while later, dude comes down to my office and says, "Hey, we're going to watch a ball game Monday night." Because NCO Club was half-price beer and dollar pizzas, those little Tonys.
Right.
And, we got over it. And some of the guys you may never like in your life, but there was those moments that you would do anything for them.
Yeah, you bonded.
So a fight was nothing. It was like, okay, we had a fight. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, and even if you didn't bond and you hated each other, when the shit rolled down and they were with you, you were tight. You were ready to protect them. They were ready to protect you. Everything was right. Didn't matter if you hated each other or not. So.
Reminds me of a senior NCO calling me one night on a Saturday. I had called him on Friday night and was going to get him go fishing the next morning. Call him up and he's stuttering. He's like, I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? And I hear crap. And all he says is, bitch threw a plate at me and hung the phone up. So let me lay the groundwork here. We're talking about a guy that when he was asked to put his diplomas on the wall by the commander so he could see some of that fruit salad and stuff. He
Right.
put his divorce decrees, all 5 of them up there.
He was proud of that.
So, and I get a call Saturday. What are you doing? I'm like, nothing. He said, look, I need you to not call the post, but I need you to go get the first sergeant and come down to the jail and get me. I'm like, what? He says, go get this first sergeant and come get me. I said, what happened? He said, well, bitch threw the plate at me and I hung up on you. I picked one up, threw it back, and it hit her.
Oh,
So they called the police, and he said, both of us in jail. I need to get out before she gets out so I can get home and change the locks. Now, everybody's, oh, that's sad. That's horrible.
Well, it goes back to your other story about boxing. Run, run, run.
Yeah. And this happened all the time, man. I mean, I say all the time, it happens in life.
Right.
But because the military is such a small community, involves a lot more people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like watching reality TV now. Why would I want to watch that? I mean, just hang out on a consolidated base.
The thing is, though, that NCO you're talking about, he got whatever happened to him on the civil side.
Yeah.
Right? But a lot of people don't realize, okay, you went through the civil side. If you're in the military, now you come back, you got UCMJ you got to worry about. So now you got military things. You're going to get punished twice for what you just did, whether it was justified or not. So it's
well, not to interrupt, but I just got a new grandbaby.
Oh,
so sent me a picture.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations.
Brand new grandbaby.
Okay, boy, girl.
Boy.
Okay.
Sorry, I already knew that though. I mean,
sorry. Oh, they knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd already found out. They don't like the surprise box.
Yeah, you got new technology these days. You can tell. Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Well, you know,
after we get finished here, you can go and tell them some of these stories one day.
Oh, I'm gonna let them rest. I'm not gonna pile up in there. I'll wait till he gets home. I'll bounce him around then. You know, it's funny though, Matt. You started this, and we're going down the humorous side of everything. And a lot of people that we talk about, I don't mention names because some of them aren't here anymore. It's such a diverse culture compared to civilian life. Like you said, you got two sets of rules. You got your civilian side, you got your UCMJ. Mm-hmm. You're subject to any of that at any given time. And people don't realize that, you know, what we're talking about happens in my lifetime in like an 18 and a half year total service spread out over maybe 20 something years because I got in and out a couple of times. You yourself saw a lot of the same repeat stuff.
Right.
And, you know, I've seen guys in the desert bury somebody else's stuff because, hey, he ain't taking a bath. So they buried his crap in the desert, wouldn't give it back till he went and took a shower.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's funny though. You think about it. It's some of it's almost like prison rules.
Mm-hmm.
You know. We're in this cell block and me and you are cell bunkies or whatever, and don't mess with my shit. Don't touch it.
Oh, don't touch it. Don't mess with it. It's mine. You just get your, well, we call them dick skinners, but get your skinners off my stuff. But you know who we don't give credit to? The funny parts are the wives and the children.
Definitely. That's a whole nother episode about supporting family members and stuff. Especially the good ones, that stick with you, not the ones that, and we're not going to cover that, but the ones that stick with you through this crap that you go through while you're gone, and then all the crap you bring home with it and stuff. It's amazing. If you've got a good spouse that'll do that, you know, hats off. Because, and the other thing is too, I don't know if you remember this or not, drill sergeants like to mess with you, and they always talked about Jody. Jody always got a rope. So if you're out there listening and you don't know who Jody is still alive today, and he's been in the military for at least 60 or 70 years. And apparently Jody has slept with every military wife / girlfriend that there's ever been. So, you know, you're out training and one of your NCOs or whatever, especially in boot camp, says, What are you doing that for? Joe, don't worry about it because Jody's back home banging your girlfriend right now. You know?
Yep.
And it's funny how they. So did you have any? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, talking about the spouses, I mean, on the funny side of it,
Yeah.
we had a female come into the first sergeant, and why he called me, I don't know. A lot of us, even though there was rank structure, and during the day, you're First Sergeant Cochran, that's the way it is. No first name basis. Nights you might go have some drinks, and you still kept a rapport, but there was a select few you went fishing with.
Yeah.
You know, calls me, says, come down to my office for a minute. So I got to go jump in the vehicle, drive across post, get over. What's up? He said, you're not going to believe what just happened. I'm like, what? So I got this private who just made corporal, and we're getting ready to do some FTXs and stuff, and his wife just showed up here to tell me what he is and isn't going to do.
What kind of training he's going to do or not do.
So, you know, not all spouses are prepared for this world when they come in. Apparently, she showed up to his office and said, he's going to work 8 to 4. He's not going to be deploying. He's not going to be doing this. He's not going to be doing that. And read him off a list of what she was sick and tired of with the United States Army. And her husband did not sign up for this shit. He's going, I wanted to kill her. I wanted to literally throw her through that window. I said, what are you going to do about it, Top? He said, well, I'm fixing to get her husband in here, and then we're going to have the chaplain come over and have him explain to her the facts of life. And he said, I basically told her if she doesn't like what we're doing to go home, get a bag, get off post, go back to where she came from because he's under an enlistment, blah, 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 blah. And he probably handled it better than most of the old school guys would have. He was kind of a new first sergeant. And he's like, she told me he isn't going to deploy. And he isn't going to pull CQ no more. For a week, that's all I heard. I see him in mess. She told me he ain't going to do this. What is wrong with her? This is the United States military. She can't just come in my office. I said, when word gets out, if you keep talking about it, every private's going to start coming in there. Right. And that's what they started doing. Hey, First Sergeant, I ain't doing that. They started messing with him. They get him so mad. But, you know, Garrison's different, and you had to have that rapport with them before you could pull those jokes. But, dude, I lost it. You know, he ain't going to do this. Okay.
So speaking of First Sergeant or Top, as they're known, right? You got a funny story. We'll let you tell it. But everybody knows if you've been in for a while, you go out drinking sometimes. And you drink until like two or so in the morning. You're just dog drunk. Sometimes you come in, and then you got to be in PT formation at 0600 and go for a run. You're sweating this out. So, did you ever have a first sergeant or / top have a little issue with running and alcohol?
Colonel decided one morning he wanted to have a full-blown brigade battalion run and blah, 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 and all that. So they told us the day before, don't stay out drinking. Okay, well, we're full-grown adults. Most of us are in that time frame of you really can't mess with us. So we went out drinking. And let's just face it, when we drank, we drank. But was always at duty and was always sober. Well, we shut down early enough to make this mid-morning run and everything. Apparently, we drank more than we thought because as we were running, we started sweating and we started smelling like alcohol. And if you had a camera back then, you could see
the fumes coming.
And you could see the first sergeant moving away from the formation. By the time we've made the first mile, he's like over in the other lane, you know? So he's pissed. And he moved back over. You some bitches are going to pay. Every one of you's going to pay. I ain't putting up with this crap. Y'all went out drinking after I told y'all not to drink. I'm going to punish you. We're going to run. I'm going to run you till you puke. Well, this particular commander was kind of a nutcase. He was fun. He knew when to be serious and when to turn it on. And this is just a fun run, if you will.
Right.
So we're coming in the home stretch, and he falls back, got behind our first sergeant and everybody, and he says, "Free for all, last one to the lines, bitch." Takes off. 6'4", running.
Right.
And we're running. And we get up there, and the first sergeant, he's all pissed and he's hot. Sergeant Major comes over, and Sergeant Major's like, he's going to puke. Colonel comes over, and he goes, man, I can't believe I'm holding it in after all that shit we drank last night. We're like, yeah, Top, who you going to punish today?
You can't do yeah. I don't think
everybody was out there. It was one of those field drinking parties where everybody just kind of started filtering in and run to the Class 6 store and get some more.
Oh, yeah.
Buy the cheap shit. Colonel's paying.
Man, you just brought back a memory. Class 6. I forgot about that old post. Oh, good old Class 6.
But I would like to clarify, the generation we come through, a lot of this drinking and carrying on and marital problems wasn't the standard, but it wasn't not there.
Right.
But it's the fun stuff you could look at. There was a lot of seriousness. There was a lot of training. And,
oh, yeah.
It's such a wild side of life to be in. And you take these kids that's 18 or 19, never been outside their little county. They think they need a passport to go to the next county.
Right.
They done joined the military and got stuck at Fort Knox, Lackland Air Base,
got a pocket
29
full of money.
Palms, Fort Binnenwood. And all of a sudden, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They get deployed to Germany for their first PCS.
Mm-hmm.
They married their high school sweetheart. They found out there was a lot more women out there on post, and then it becomes a lot of things open up, not just to them, but their wives, and, it's like, hey, I mean, what's going on here? I was in Korea when they still had strippers come into the NCO club. No women was allowed. There was no women at the post and at the airbase. And then some officer's wife made a tour of Korea, and then that got shut down overnight. We're like, what the? Really? You were just passing through. You couldn't shut up?
Yeah. It's crazy, too. You mentioned strippers. I'm not going to go down this path long, but I was talking to you last week off air a little bit. But if I'm not mistaken, the Army finally came out with a class of why you shouldn't marry a stripper. It's because I personally know someone that I went to high school with, and I'm still good friends with. He went to Fort Bragg, and he did and stuff. So I don't know what's going on, but you're right. You get all these young kids that come in, and it's just like they take the leash off. You've got money in your pockets. You've got all this, and you got all this testosterone and this adrenaline going. You act up and you act crazy, but the training is still good. You still maintain and discipline, and you learn discipline for at least 96% or 7% of them. Of course, you're in any organization, you're going to have that one little duck that goes its own way. It's not going to stay in its own line. But yeah, if it wasn't for stuff like that,
you lose your sanity.
You would lose your sanity. Again, let's see some sanity happening here. Let's see what we got going on here.
Okay, you're anytime.
I like this one now.
Come on, move over
here. It's kind of
Don't move, Proctor. Don't move.
And I love stuff like this because nothing's perfect.
Right.
And if you haven't ever seen something go wrong in the military and you tell people that, you're lying. It goes wrong all the time.
I always get tickled because they say, well, some civilians or whatever said, well, I just bought this product and it's military grade. Right?
Built by the cheapest contractor at a discounted rate.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the VA replace my hip, and everybody, I'm like Cousin Eddie. I have to watch get too close to the microwave because I pass out,
Magnet's too strong, you get stuck to it. But we had it's talking about the the training and the issues. A friend of mine, we were doing a house clearing training.
Right.
A lot of people don't know this. It's really strict.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're clearing the house and shooting the targets. You hit the wrong targets, you got to go give a speech about why you hit the wrong target. You hit the Tango target and a civilian target, you got to go give a speech about that. And that sometimes I actually just say, hey, give me your weapon. Twice you hit the wrong target. Well, we were doing dry runs at night using NVGs. I'm gonna tell you, you people scream you on MVGs unless you spend like $40,000. They have no depth perception. Well, I'm talking old stuff. I haven't seen the
Right.
new stuff.
Right.
So we've been crashing this and walking through it. Now we're gonna go full speed. We bust through the door. BB knows exactly where the post is, but his MVGs ain't got no depth perception. He runs right smack into them so hard he shatters these. So we get him up. We go ahead and finish.
Yeah.
Because we're going full speed and we don't realize that he's completely down. I mean, you do your thing and you clean up afterwards and you do a eval of it. So he's got busted MVGs. He's bleeding across the bridge of his nose. And this stupid little XO, the only thing he can do is, we got to fill out a form. We have to do this. Got to do that. Blah, 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 blah. That's going to cost X amount of numbers. And BB turns around and says, hey, if you don't want them broke, don't give them to me. You told me to go through the freaking door at full speed. I went through the freaking door at full speed. He goes, find a scientist that can build a piece of shit with some depth perception. He said, that post was 40 freaking feet away. XO just looked at him and was like, okay, calm down. Bleeding and everything. All he's worried about is making the paperwork jive.
All the good old XO, man. They're just the XO is usually second lieutenant, right? Butter bar, and then sometimes maybe a first lieutenant or whatever. But they're usually 20 years old. Like I said, they're like privates, except they got a college education and they got a commission to be an officer. They have no common sense, really, too. They're still learning. But some of the funniest things is to see some of these little butter bars try to come up to a command sergeant major and say, you better salute me, blah, 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 respect me. And that command sergeant major is like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I had my cover off. I was under an overhang. You want me to step out there, and then start you got to have a power base. Let's face it. If you don't have a power base, people ain't going to follow you. You have to be in command. You have to have that respect of that rank, and you try not to disrespect them in public. But like you said, I remember the first time I got to, the top three, and I had to pull an XO aside and say, look, I'm not going to belittle you in front of them guys, but if you talk to me or another one of my NCOs like that, we're going to have a major issue. And something you need to remember, you've got less than 4 years service. Most of these guys are sitting at 10 plus.
Right.
You might ought to listen to them because they're the reason you're going to make first, captain, major. These people. You're not going to do it on your own.
Going to show you, right?
And I've seen colonels walk down the hall and say, Lieutenant, come here for a minute. And then everybody runs down the hallway and the colonel's like, you better start listening to that first sergeant. You better start listening to that sergeant major because I'm fixing to do your report and they're dictating what you do. They will quit on you. And I have seen a first sergeant tell an entire company, just do the basics.
Right.
Just max the minimum. And when you max the minimum, things go to shit pretty quick.
Right.
You're meeting the guidelines. And poor XO's going, what do I do? And the first sergeant's like, oh, now you want my help? Okay.
Come on in. Let me tell you. Sit down.
Did you have a lot of people that bragged all the time in service that never really could shoot?
Did I have what now? A lot of people.
Did you ever have a lot of guys that you're around when you went to the range that would brag a lot about how good of a shot they were to find out they sucked?
Yeah, definitely. They couldn't even make marksmen.
Yeah.
They couldn't even zero their weapon.
I got a little spat. I mean, I've had an ass chewing, so I wasn't too worried about it. And we went to the range and we had 5 rounds, 0. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
We get 5 rounds on the target and 0. And I listened to this, so I was sick of it. I'm going to shoot expert. Y'all suck. I'm the best there ever was. Well, when we did our 5-round zero, I fired my 5 rounds into his target. He's in the lane next to me. So we went down there. He was pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant come over and said, hey, did you fire into his target? I was like, yep, sure did. They turned around and said, well, what the fuck? I said, we're fixing to find out how good of a shot he is. I know where my 5 rounds are. I said, what? I said, I know exactly where my 5 rounds are. They're that right there, that double $50 piece. That is my shit. I'm not going to qualify. I said, if you don't qualify, it's your own fault. Because if you know where your 5 rounds are, then, you'll know what adjustments to make. Went back over there and shot. He barely made the round. And then he blamed me for it. So the sergeant running the range said, hey, give you some more rounds. Fire again. Gave him 10 rounds to 0. And I feel bad because I made a fool out of him that day. But I couldn't take it no more. And then after that, nobody says anything. It's a nice thing about GIs. Nobody says a word. They don't ride his ass or nothing. But the next time we go to the range, he's like, all right, guys, let's all call. He becomes a team player. Now it's not me, and you guys suck. Now it's, I want to be part of the team.
Right.
So there's a little psychological warfare there. But I was like, I've had enough of shit. And I was not the best shot, but I was decent.
Yeah. I remember going to the range, speaking of butter bars. We went to the range one day. I can't remember when it was, but anyway, we had a butter bar there at the clearing barrel, and he was clearing everybody off the range, right? And so, you put your barrel into the clearing barrel and fire and say, all clear, and do the little click, make sure there's no, well, some private or something walked up and he did the whole thing, and lieutenant expected, no ammo, no brass, no ammo, and he did, well, private put his thing in and then pulled it back and pop, fired a round off in the clearing barrel. Ooh. Some range NCO come over there, didn't get onto the private, but he tore that lieutenant a new one. He was like, what? He looked like he had been beat. They took his teddy bear from home and stuff. So you see some crazy stuff.
I tell you, we're talking about the range officer. We had a night and nobody was happy because it was late. And I had a National Guard unit that was getting ready to deploy when everything was happening. And this first sergeant come up to me and he says, look, we're National Guard. We have our own cooks. We're an infantry unit. We have our own cook. We have all this. We're a whole unit. But they broke us up and sent us out here. He says, I don't know how to run this, to work this base, all this paperwork and stuff. I don't know what I need to do to get chow. Can you help me out? And I'm like, sure, Top, no problem. I was staff sergeant at the time. So I show him what to do and where to go. And basically it's a lot simpler than they make it out to be. And I said, when you get there, don't take no shit. You're first sergeant. You tell the guy, say, I got, 100 troops out here at range so-and-so. I want this food, blah, 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 blah. They'll get you squared away with some MREs and some boxes and all that. Maybe 3 hours go by. This captain comes up to me. He is his nerves are shot. He's almost in tears. And he looks at me and he says, we're National Guard. He says, I'm trying to get this done. He said, this range officer is being fucking dick. I can't get anything done. He says, I'm not in active duty. He says, I never did active duty. What do I do? Can you please help me, Staff Sergeant? I'm at my wit's ends. I just want to blow my top. Come with me. So, and he's telling me, we go over to the range office. I fling that door open, and I didn't just open like a drill sergeant. I crashed that door. I said, who's in charge of this fucking range? Right. Staff Sergeant, that'd be me. I said, just out of curiosity, I said, can you excuse me for a second, Captain? Step outside. I made sure to be loud enough he could hear me. I said, you disrespect that officer on this range? I said, did you disrespect that officer on this range? I said, you are the range control. You're in charge of this range, but they got a job to do. You quit treating him like he's National Guard. He's on Title 10. If I have to come back in here and put my foot in your ass, you can be guaranteed that he's got the power to put his foot in your ass, get his commander involved, and we go Article 15 all the way down the road. You have a nice fucking day. So that's how you handle it, sir. After that, he was shits and giggles every day because he wasn't taking no more. He was like, okay, I can put my foot down. He's like, yes, sir, you can. You got 2 bars. You can utilize it. Yeah.
Good to go.
Yeah.
All right. any other quick stories that you got? We got to wrap things up here in just a second. So,
Dude, we could go on all day about different funny stories. Humvees getting rolled over. Some of the funniest stuff that worked out. I mean, this is probably something we could run forever and a day. I guess the big thing is there was an incident at Lackland Air Force Base. Airman got off the bus with a box of rubbers and a case of Cokes, and his drill sergeant, TI, they called him at the time, just went into him, what are you going to do with this? And he's going down the whole road or whatever. And he's like, you don't want to be here, do you? And he's like, sir. He said, I'm not a sir. Blah, blah, blah. You don't want to be here, do you? And he's like, no, I don't want to be here. He said, I tell you what, you want to go home, don't you? He's like, yeah, I'd like to go home. He said, tell you what, you see that bush over there, that purple bush? And at this drop-off area, there's just one bush in the middle of the field. That's it, green. He said, you see that purple bush? Oh, no, that purple bush, over here. Finally, kid's like, yeah, I see the purple bush. He goes, you go over and stand in front of that purple bush. Stand on your toes and click your heels together and say, there's no place like home, and a bus will come by here and pick you up. This kid goes over and starts clicking his heels together, saying there's no place like home. He tells the bus driver to leave and come back. And the bus driver comes around, picks him up, puts him on the bus, leaves, drives around, lets him out. He meets him again. You want to try this again? And the kid's not crying no more. He's kind of like woke up to where he's at. And I'm sitting over there like, God, that shit's too funny. I mean, click your heels together and everything. And it's, yeah, I mean, and sometimes I think these guys, I did it. There was training lessons, Matt. We all do it, but the military is not a civilian organization. You work with what you got. But if you got 500 people over here getting trained and doing good and one screw up, you got good instructors and good teachers. If you got 500 people screwed up and one, then it's opposite. And apparently it works and people have fun. I have not met a World War II veteran yet that wants to talk about the misery of World War II, but they will start to tell me stories about the guy that jumped out of a plane when he didn't have to because they thought it was crashing. So-and-so went to a Y in the road and drove through the middle because he didn't know which way the sergeant wanted to go. I think this is the stuff that keeps our sanity.
It is. And, what we were talking about today, just the laughing and the relief and the comedic things and the craziness and the immature boyish crap that goes on. That's part of the big sanity that happens. Yeah, we have downtime, but we have to do something with that downtime because, man, you get so revved up, you're pumped. Like I said earlier, you've got all this adrenaline in you. You've got all these hormones happening, and you got to release it some way. And that's why you come up with some of this stupid stuff that you do.
And we're talking about the guys, but the women were just as bad.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, we did a bag drag. And for anybody that doesn't know, bag drag is where you do like a real quick lightning exercise to make sure people's mobile is ready. Right. So back then, they'd call you or whatever, and you'd report. So we're going through the line with the bags. And they got everybody, medical, legal, they're all out there. Do you need a wheel? Do you need this? But at one point, they'll either spot check, everybody do it. You dump your bag out. When you dump your bag out, they go, you got X amount, no contraband. Dude dumps his bag out, and this purple dildo falls out right in front of these women and the chaplain and everybody else because they're doing the bag drag. Right. And this dude picks it up and goes, really? Really? And back then, they didn't really worry about not hurting your feelings like that. He said, we ain't doing this shit on deployment. Turns around and throws it in the trash can. Turns out one of the girls from the ordering room, when they were processing bags, he left his unlocked or disconnected, and she shoved it in there. And this unit had the purple dildo going around. You never knew where it was going to wind up. My understanding is that thing went through Desert Shield, Desert Storm, wound up in Afghanistan. It was, whether it's the same one or not, I don't know, but these jokes carry for years.
The legend of the purple dildo.
So, and the women were playing them, and it's just, it brings, I guess, it brings some comedy to a bad situation
And,
or not the best situation,
right.
because we all worked at companies. Me and you worked together before. You get to go home at night. You get to go home to your families. There you didn't, and your wives and kids were trying to find ways to stay occupied. Like I said, NCO club, you had booze nights, you had family nights. There was nights that the things could be done with the kids. The base had its own school, playgrounds. I mean, really,
It's all community.
yeah, its own community. Needed its own
Ken.
TV show at the time.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, this is all about smoking and joking, man. And I think we told some good stories. Like you said, we could probably do a whole series on just smoking and joking. But thanks a lot for joining us again today. And your stories are always interesting. So, well, congratulations on the new grandkid.
Well, thank you. And
Yep.
they named him Knox. So,
Knox. Okay.
yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, if you're out there and you have a story that you want to tell, or get a hold of us, contact me on the channel there, because we would love to hear from any of the vets. Hear your stories too. Did you smoke and joke? What was your story? What was your military experience, Slice? But thanks again for joining us on the Vet Files. Again, I'm your host, Matt Cochran, and this is Mr. Ken Freeney joining us with all his great stories. Don't forget to visit, the link is in the description. Don't forget to visit Timothy Swift. He's got a new song out. It's called When I Was Young. I think you'll really appreciate that. So thanks again. Thanks, Ken.
Thankful for our
Thank you.
country's strength and fortitude, resilience for the future, conviction in our views as we recite the pledge of allegiance to that flag, yeah. I'll always remember when my daddy told me, America's built on a dream. It's built on the blood, sweat, and sorrow we keep. It's the land of the brave and the home of the free. Now is the time to understand all men are equal, not just the richer man. We must stop this hate and stop the misery. We have the freedom to express our views, voting for whoever we choose as our soldiers who died for us to be free. I'll always remember what my daddy told me. He told me.
Welcome to the Vet Files, stories of the brave from the front lines of freedom to the life they saved. Real talk, real vets, every tale's got pride from the battlefield's edge to the home front side. Tune in, turn it up, hear the heroes speak. The Vet Files bring the truth every week. From the fight to the mic, it's a soldier's life. You're live with the Vet Files, real stories, real life. Vet Files, real stories, real life.